Y'all pull up a chair because you are not gonna believe the audacity of some men. You really think you know the person you sleep next to every night, right? You think, oh, that's my soulmate, he would never do me wrong. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought about Andre. My name is Jasmine. I'm 30 years old and I've been working my tail off since I was 20 to build a life for myself. I bought my own 3-bedroom house here in Atlanta 2 years before I even met Andre. It was my pride and joy. When we got married, he moved in and everything seemed sweet. I paid the mortgage, he handled the utilities and groceries. It felt fair. But last Tuesday changed everything. I wasn't supposed to be home until 6 p.m., but I had a migraine that was splitting my head open, so I left work at 2. As I pulled into my driveway, I saw a silver sedan parked right in my spot. I frowned, thinking maybe Andre had a friend over. But then I saw a woman in a blazer standing on my front porch, holding a clipboard, looking at the roof like she was inspecting it. My heart started beating a little faster. I turned off my engine and stepped out quietly. Before I could even say, "Excuse me," I heard the front door open. Andre walked out, smiling, a smile I hadn't seen in months, and shook the woman's hand. Then I heard him say the words that made my blood run cold. Like I said, I'm looking for a quick cash sale. My wife doesn't need to know until the papers are signed. I froze right there behind my car. He was doing what? I wanted to scream. I wanted to march up those steps, snatch that clipboard, and smack Andre upside the head with it. My blood was boiling so hot I could feel the heat in my ears. But my mama didn't raise a fool, and she definitely didn't raise a woman who shows her hand before she's got the winning cards. I crouched lower behind my SUV, hands shaking as I pulled out my phone. I hit record just as the woman asked, "And you're sure your wife is on board? The deed is in her name, correct?" Andre let out this fake, confident laugh, the one he uses when he's lying to his boys about how much money he makes. "Technically, yes, but I have a power of attorney signed. She's not well right now. Mental health issues. She wants me to liquidate everything so we can move to a facility. Just get the paperwork ready for a cash buyer. I want this done by Friday." Not well, mental health issues. My jaw dropped. This man wasn't just stealing my house, he was destroying my character to do it. I waited until they went inside to inspect the kitchen, and then I did the hardest thing I've ever done. I got back in my car, put it in neutral, and rolled it down the driveway so I wouldn't make a sound. Once I was down the street, I started the engine and drove straight to my cousin Keisha's office. She's a paralegal, and she doesn't play. When I played her that recording, Keisha looked ready to fight. "Jasmine," she said, her voice low and serious, "if he produces a power of attorney, he forged your signature. That is fraud. That is prison time. But we need to catch him in the act." I went home that night around 6:30, acting like nothing happened. I felt sick looking at him. He was sitting on the couch, watching the game, looking relaxed in my house that he was trying to sell out from under me. "Hey, baby," he said, not even looking up. "How was work? You look tired." "Just a long day," I said, gripping my purse so tight my knuckles turned white. "Headache." "I made spaghetti," he offered. He never cooks. He was buttering me up. While he was in the shower later that night, I went through his briefcase. My heart was thumping against my ribs like a drum. I dug past his work papers and found a folder tucked at the very back. Inside, there it was, a forged power of attorney document with a scribble that looked kind of like my signature, but shaky. But that wasn't even the worst part. Underneath that paper was a flight itinerary, one way to Vegas, for 2 people. And the second name wasn't Jasmine, it was Vanessa. I sat on the bathroom floor, holding that paper, tears stinging my eyes. Not because I loved him, that love died the second I heard him on the porch, but because I had trusted him. He was planning to sell my house, take the cash, and run off with his side piece by Friday. I looked at the calendar. Today was Tuesday. He thought he was the smart one. He thought I was the unstable wife who didn't know anything. I heard the water stop running. I shoved the papers back exactly how I found them and stood up. I wiped my face. If he wanted a show, I was gonna give him the performance of a lifetime. Friday morning arrived. and the air in the house was thick enough to cut with a knife. Andre thought I had left for work at 8 a.m. I did leave, but I only drove around the block. As soon as I saw the real estate agent's car pull up, followed by a black sedan, I circled back and parked right in the driveway, blocking them all in. I walked up to the front door, just as they were sitting down at my dining room table. Andre looked up, his face turning the color of ash. "Jasmine, baby, what are you doing here? I thought you were working." He turned to the agent and the buyer, forcing a sad smile. "I'm sorry, gentlemen. Like I said, her condition makes her confused about schedules." The agent looked at me with pity. "It's okay, Mrs. Davis. We're just handling the paperwork your husband prepared to help with your transition." I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just walked over to the table, picked up the power of attorney document, and ripped it right down the middle. The sound of that paper tearing was the loudest thing in the room. "There is no transition," I said, my voice steady and cold. "And there is no sale. My name is on the deed. My name is on the mortgage. And that signature you're looking at, that's a forgery." Andre stood up, panic all over his face. "She's having an episode. Just ignore her, sign the papers." "Sit down, Andre," I snapped. The command was so sharp he actually sat back down. I pulled out my phone and played the recording from the porch. "My wife doesn't need to know. She's not well." Then I threw the Vegas tickets on the table. "And I guess Vanessa was going to help me with my mental health in a deluxe suite at the Bellagio." The buyer stood up immediately. "I'm not getting involved in fraud. The deal is off." He grabbed his checkbook and walked out. Andre looked at me, his eyes pleading. "Jasmine, wait, I can explain." "Save it," I said, crossing my arms, "because the guests I invited are already here." Right on cue, there was a knock at the door. I opened it to let in 2 officers. My cousin Keisha had filed the police report for fraud and forgery that morning. Watching Andre get handcuffed in the living room he tried to steal was a feeling I can't even describe. It wasn't happiness, it was justice. As they walked him out, he looked back at me, crying, "Jasmine, please, we're married." I leaned against the doorframe, sipping my coffee. "Not for long, baby, not for long." I kept my house. I filed for divorce the next day. And as for the Vegas trip, I cashed in those tickets for credit and took myself on a spa retreat. Because if anyone deserved a break, it was me. If you're still listening, I want to know, would you have pressed charges or just kicked him out? Tell me in the comments, hit like if this hit home, and subscribe if you want more stories just like this.